What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Hands On Channel. I actually have some really good news today. If you remember, if you're a follower of the channel here, I made a video here recently about the FDA's approval of the new Pfizer V and how basically I think the next step was going to be they're going to try to mandate this on a national level or a federal level, and I didn't think they had any precedents to do that. You know, I think they can make the states do that. There's ways they can pressure the states into doing that sort of thing, but I don't believe ever in the United States history has the federal government actually mandated a V, and especially across the board like they're trying to do. I mean, I'm hearing about stories of people that have, out in Hawaii, I believe it was, there was a lady that was going to school and she had some other pre-existing condition that basically makes it to where she's not allowed to take a V. If she takes a V, it could kill her. And do you think that the college or the state took any, exceptions to her and said, oh yeah, come on in, we realize that you can't take it? No, they banned her from going to the school. And I'm just like, oh my God. I mean, you can't force people to take a V that will kill them more than likely. I mean, that's just unbelievable. And I've heard several things on pregnant women being fired from their jobs and stuff because they're like, hey, I'm not taking a V when my baby's 8 months, I'm 8 months pregnant. I'm not going to do that because it could kill my baby. And yet they're still fired for, standing up for human life, for standing up for health liberty. And so, guys, I've talked about it a little bit before in the past. And if you really, if you want to have a case against any company like that or anything like that, if you are being threatened with a V at your workplace for continued employment, you're going to have to let them fire you. I know it's not going to be fun. Nobody wants to walk into the office and, get their final day's pay or whatever and be told basically gather your tools and go away. Nobody likes that, but you're going to have to go through that if you want to have any legal standing to sue the company for violating your health liberty, because that's what this really comes down to. Yeah, the company does have a right to do certain things, but they don't have a right to force you to get injections. At least that's my opinion. And I think once this goes to some higher courts, I think these companies are going to have to back off big time because they'll realize once a few people start getting sued, then all the other companies will start backing off because they'll be like, oh, wait a minute. That big company over there got sued, so we better not do this anymore. We better change our policy. So what I wanted to talk to you guys today about was we've been lied to big time. I mean, it's probably the most blatant example of fake news I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm not going to lie, this is just totally over the top Orwellian. And what did they do? Well, remember Monday when they said that the Pfizer V had full approval from the FDA? They left out, that is true, but they left out a key component. They omitted a key component to that statement. It has been approved by the FDA for continued EUA or emergency use authorization, not fully approved. The other V that they're working on, so there was 2 papers released Monday, and they're conflating these 2 papers and making it seem like because this one, Comirnaty or whatever, because it was approved, that the Pfizer V was also approved, and that is a bald-faced lie. Of course, if we had a free press like we're supposed to have, where the media actually did investigative journalism, they would have gotten to the bottom of that by reading the letter that was released Monday, but they didn't bother. So instead, they just went out on their mainstream media trumpet and their mockingbird mainstream media trumpet, and they all said the same thing. Isn't it interesting? They were all saying, oh yes, the Pfizer V has been granted full FDA approval or whatever. So anyways, that was all lies, guys. And so I made a video a few days ago about that, and I was pretty worried. I was like, man, my wife and I, we haven't had the V and we don't want the V. We believe in liberty, and health liberty is one of those things we strongly believe in. And it's really the equivalent of rape. I hate to be so vulgar, but it really is. Somebody is wanting to stick something inside of your body that you do not approve of. And not only that, they're not telling you all of the stuff about it. They're not fully disclosing all of the potential side effects. If you go onto the VAERS website at the CDC, you can see quite a few of those side effects. It's rumored, somebody recently was saying that there were up to 45,000 deaths caused by this so far. And honestly, the amazing thing is every other V that has gone through any kind of trial run or anything like that, or experimentation phase, every other V, I should say it this way, none of the other Vs have had this many deaths and this many side effects. In the past, if a V had so many deaths and so many, ill effects and side effects and stuff like that, they would cancel it. They would say, no, this is not safe. We can't do this. This is no good. And they would take that off the market, Well, now, supposedly there's up to 45,000 people that have had really severe, ultimately severe side effects. I mean, it doesn't get any more severe than dying, right? So anyways, the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons, the AAPS, released a statement on the FDA approval. This, again, is bombshell. It's probably the biggest story I've ever done here on the channel. And I highly encourage you to go out and spread this word. Even if you don't share my video, take these articles and go share them with your friends and the people that will listen. I think it was Thomas Paine that said, trying to argue with somebody that has lost the ability to reason is like trying to administer medicine to the dead. So you'll have to use your own judgment, on who you can share this with, because some people, it'd be like trying to administer medicine to the dead to show them stuff because they only believe them MSM talking points. So whatever the MSM said last, that's what they're going to believe. They don't care that these doctors, the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons, the AAPS, has released a statement on FDA approval. So we're going to get into this. Tucson, Arizona, August 25th, 2021. Globe Newswire. So the expected FDA approval letter for the Pfizer Rona V was issued on August 23rd, and the Biden administration immediately called on companies to require Vs. Full approval would remove the legal impediment that Vs only available under emergency use authorization must be voluntary and cannot be mandated. I mean, that's concrete rules right there. Did you hear that? Did you pick up on that? Vs only available under an emergency use authorization, EUA, must be voluntary and cannot be mandated. And that ties in to the Nuremberg Code. They know they're not allowed to mandate this stuff or force anybody. It has to be voluntary because this is experimental. It's only been approved under the emergency use authorization. This has not been fully vetted and fully approved by the FDA. No matter what the talking heads told you on Monday and Tuesday, it was a flat, blatant lie. Please go read this article. A statement released by the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons noted that the FDA's approval letter actually approves a biologics license application, BLA, from BioNTech Manufacturing in Mainz, Germany, for its product Comirnaty. FDA extended the EUA for Pfizer's BioNTech Rona V, which is legally distinct, though in most other respects the same as Comirnaty. So it's legally different. They put out 2 letters on Monday. One of them was for this V Comirnaty that hasn't even been produced yet. It's just in developmental stages, I suppose. It's not available right now. So that's the one that got full FDA approval. The other one that they're actually using, the Pfizer V for the Rona that they're actually using, only got an extended EUA, emergency use authorization. So nothing changed. But yet these people, the talking heads, the Mockingbird media, came out and made it sound like everybody was going to have to go get this thing. So full approval does not actually apply to vials not labeled Comirnaty, the AAPS states. In any event, AAPS notes that bureaucratic approval does not abrogate or abolish the right of individuals to give or withhold informed consent to medical interventions. They have no right to do this unless they have been given informed consent. So what is that? Let's break that down. What does informed consent mean? Well, it means you've been told about all of the potential side effects. All of them. Not just the ones they choose to tell you about. And that even includes death. So, I think those are pretty important things to know before you let somebody stick your arm with some experimental substance that's, as far as I know, I believe it was Fauci and Gates that had the patent rights on several of these things. I'm not sure if it's Pfizer or not, but on several of these different Vs, Fauci and Gates, they'll make money if the government mandates it. So isn't that interesting? So AAPS points out that the approval bypassed the normal advisory committee and public comment requirements. Isn't that interesting? So they didn't want any public comments on this. They didn't allow any public comments or take time for that. And they didn't have a normal advisory committee. So they just skipped all kinds of things to get this Comirnaty approved. And I think the whole reason they did it was because they're not actually, Pfizer and BioNTech doesn't actually want Comirnaty to be used directly, because if they do and it's fully approved, then that will open them up to litigation. If your mom or somebody takes it and they end up getting deadly sick and you have to go in there and pay for their medical bills, and maybe they even die and stuff from complications and all this. Well, as it stands now under emergency use authorization, you can't do anything. You can't sue the V manufacturers because they have an out there, because it's emergency use. It's an experiment. So, guys, this is freaking bombshell. These doctors are telling you that the federal government misled you on Monday and Tuesday, and me too, and told us that this V had been approved by the FDA and Biden was getting ready to mandate it. So here's just a little statement that makes me like the AAPS even more. AAPS opposes V mandates, supports the need for fully informed consent, and affirms the rights of patients to refuse medical treatment even if it is recommended by their physicians. The Association of American Physicians and Surgeons has represented physicians in all specialties since 1943. Their motto is Omnia Pro Grado, everything for the patient. I like these guys. So, that's bombshell, guys. Your own government told you on Monday that the FDA had approved the Pfizer V. And yet, that is not what happened. They omitted the most important part. For EUA use, not fully approved. So guys, all these businesses that fell for Biden's little thing on Monday, my question to them is, are you going to believe them next time they cry wolf? Are you going to continue to be the dunce? Are you going to continue to be Charlie Brown and Lucy holding the football and moving the football on you, like we used the analogy last video? At what point do you go, no, you have lost all credibility because you lied to us? I don't know. These are just questions I ask, guys. The other guy that I saw talking about this was the inventor of the mRNA V. He was on Steve Bannon's War Room today. You should go check that out. It's only like a 4-minute video. They had an article and a link over at the Gateway Pundit. You can go check that out. And I'll provide links to these articles down here in the comments section and in the description. So to all my naysayers out there that say that I don't, provide links or whatever, here they are. You can go read it and weep. Your government, your daddy government, Biden, Sleepy Joe, whatever you want to call him, Commie Joe, Beijing Biden, any of those names are appropriate. He has done this under his direction, under his orders. They have done this. The FDA doesn't act alone. They had people appointed to the FDA to run the FDA by Biden. And if they didn't, if they didn't have to change anybody out, it was because they already had globalists in power. So guys, this is it. This is how the republic dies. It's from misinformation and disinformation. Intentional disinformation. That's what this is. When you intentionally omit something to further your agenda, that's disinformation. There's a big difference between the two if you don't know. Misinformation is like, I could say, this vice over here behind me is actually orange. And maybe in my eyes it looks orange. And to your eyes it's red. And you're like, no, that's red. And I'm like, no, it's orange. Well, see, I would be spreading misinformation because it's not like any ill intent. But disinformation means you have a hidden agenda. You're trying to promote something. And maybe you could argue that it's for our own good, but we don't live in a collective. This is not collectivism. This is not a Marxist country. I mean, it's becoming more and more of a Marxist country every day, but our founding of this country is not Marxist. And we need to get back to that, guys. We need to get back to the Constitution. We need to get back to liberty and freedom. We can't continue to be like sheep being led to slaughter. We have to do our own research and our own homework. And my apologies, because I believed the mainstream narrative on my last video, and that was alarming to me. I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, now what does this mean? They're going to be able to force me to take this thing that I don't want to take. And so, yeah, I was pretty worried about it. And I apologize if I got you worried about something that turned out to be nothing, because I should have just known the federal government was lying. That's all they do. Anytime they open their mouths, they're lying. So, guys, share this information. Again, it's not being told. You know, I guarantee you they're not going to retract their stories from Monday and Tuesday. And even if some of them do, they're going to bury that information on like the bottom of the page where no one will ever see it. So we've been lied to. What are you going to do about that? Elections have consequences. These are some of those consequences, guys. We should trumpet this to everybody that we know. We should tell them that this whole thing was a lie, and it's making me personally, I'm not going to tell you what to do or what to think, but personally, it's making me disbelieve all of the other stuff that they've told us up until this point. I mean, they have lost all credibility. So guys, I stand for liberty. I hope you do too.